Hi, my beautiful queens and kings. It is your one and only Queen Dish here. So I am delighted today as I have Queen Teresa here, who is the ritual queen. So I'm excited to talk with her, about some different things for you ladies. Hello, Queen Teresa.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me. It's a perfect fit.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, just to let you queens know a little bit about her, Teresa is a published author, certified life coach, a Reiki 2 energy healer, and a certified aromatherapist. She is the author of Uncensored, a guide to putting on your big girl panties. Ooh. She's the CEO of the Ritual Queen LLC and the host of the Ritual Queen podcast. Well, excuse me.
In the house.
Excuse me. But no, I love having different guests on here in different walks of life and doing different things because we're all so unique in different ways. And I feel like we all, as women especially, have something to offer each other, right?
Absolutely.
So I read a little bit about you, but I want you, Queen Teresa, to let us know a little bit more about you in your own words.
Yeah, I would love to. So, yeah, I was dubbed the ritual queen. So, that's kind of how everybody knows me. And my purpose in this life has really just switched from focus on my family and my kids because they're grown now and I needed a new purpose. And so, I kind of found it in my own kind of healing and spiritual journey and realized that we as women and caretakers, we do not make ourselves a priority. Like we are at the bottom of the barrel,
Yep.
and then we hit walls and we wonder why, we're so burnt out and stressed and overwhelmed. And so I just decided that was it. That was my mission. I was shining a light on mental health just due to my own struggle. And I was letting women know that there is no shame around being a queen, and
Absolutely.
we need to drop that guilt that we encounter when we do try to make ourselves a priority. So I'm just trying to, open women up to their own strength and
Absolutely.
being their own validation and stop seeking it from outside sources.
Amen to that. You know we're aligned on that, honey.
Oh, yeah. We have the power within. You just got to let it out.
Right, right. Oh, absolutely. I mean, gosh, we said, oh, look, we definitely don't put ourselves first, which is, and absolutely why I'm also here, behind my mission and purpose and what I'm doing. So, knowing a little bit about you, of course, and sort of learning about your journey, can you kind of bring us back to that place in your life where, if I believe, you kind of were depressed at one point, because I know there are a lot of women that are ashamed, as you said, and they feel guilty and feel sometimes like they're the only ones dealing with what they're dealing with,
Yeah. You
and
feel alone.
right, completely alone, as if all of us are not dealing with our own struggles in our
Yeah.
own way, right? And so when we have women like you or like me or other women that are willing to be open and vulnerable about it, it makes a difference. So can you tell us a little bit about that journey and that time in your life for us?
Yeah, I would love to share that story. And I just want to start it off by saying, when you're in that space, when you are, when you're dealing with any sort of mental health struggle or you're feeling overwhelmed and stressed, you kind of look around and everybody else seems to have it together. Right. And so that makes you feel even worse
Yes.
about yourself. And the truth is, they don't. Right.
Right.
It just seems that way to you because you feel so isolated. So, um, my journey actually started in my late 30s. My kids were getting older. My daughter was going through some bullying stuff at school that we were dealing with. And for a long time, I was dealing with depression and just kind of trying to cover it up. Like I say in my book, like I thought I was like a ninja at covering up, my symptoms, when reality I wasn't. Like, everybody around me knew something was off, but just didn't know what. And I've always put on the face of everything being okay, that when I say it, people just believe me, right? And that's another thing that we tend to do. We always do the I'm fine,
Right.
right? And we're not fine. So I finally had kind of hit a wall. I was having suicidal thoughts, and I knew that that was my rock bottom. Like,
Sure.
at that point, I had to get some help. And I finally did. I finally admitted that, I was not the end all be all for my family. Like, everybody would be okay if I took a step aside and helped myself, because if I continued on, I may not have been here anyway. And what good is that to them at that
Right.
point? So I did the traditional route of medication and therapy, and kind of took some time to get myself equaled out and back on track. And then I started looking into some alternative methods to deal with everything. And that was just a personal thing, because I'm not a pill kind of person, like a medication. So I wanted some alternative methods for me. And that led me to aromatherapy. So I started like really digging into that, and
Okay.
I got certified in that, because there was a lot of misinformation, and I wanted to be safe about how I was utilizing that resource. And so I did that, and then I found the world of online coaching, and all of the inspiring and motivating women that are online for you. And so I found a coach. I started working with her. I ended up going through her certification program to become a coach myself, because I knew at that point that that's exactly what I wanted to do. And then I found energy work, and so I, got certified in that. And yeah, and that kind of led me to the end of, then writing my book to share my story with the world, because it was interesting. I think it was
Right.
interesting. And I wanted to share it in hopes that, different aspects of my story, people could relate and
Sure.
see themselves in it. And then, take the resources that I provide to begin their own, journey back to themselves.
Sure.
And when we can connect back to ourselves and within, and in our purpose, and, the reason God put us here, or whatever higher power you believe in, for the reason that, that we're here, then we can drop the fear of
Absolutely.
using our voices and being queens and being in that energy, and
Absolutely.
not having the guilt and the shame that surrounds it when you're not in that space.
Oh gosh. Wow. You just said a mouthful. I mean, there's
Yeah, it was
so
a
much
lot.
I can take from that. But I no, I just excuse me, love the transparency. I just think it's needed, and just being authentic and open, because like I said, there's so many of us that are hurting or are going through something, and as she said, like, trust me, you're not the only ones, ladies, out there going through something. We are all dealing with something in our own way. They may not say it, but trust me, I always say you never know what's going on behind closed doors, right?
Exactly. Yep.
Right. Something I do like that kind of mentioned was kind of when you said my family. I think you said they had to realize, like, you're not the end all be all for them.
Mhm.
That's huge, because so many women, take on sort of that armor and feel like you have to be everything to everyone. And
Mhm.
of course, that equates to them putting themselves last.
Yep.
So, kind of,
Strap on that cape, right? That
absolutely putting the
superwoman
cape,
cape.
exactly,
And that's kind of our validation that we're
exactly,
worthy.
exactly. For a woman who is kind of, she's in that space right now.
Mhm.
What's kind of maybe even just a first step for her that you think would be good, just to kind of get her on the right path, you know? What's a
Yeah.
first step for her?
Honestly, the first step, I believe, is awareness.
Okay.
You got to have that self-awareness that um, you're trying to do everything, you want to be everything. And you may be in like I had a happy family, right? Like I'm married to my best friend. We've been together since we were 20 years old,
Yeah.
right? Like, I'm almost 40 or almost 47. I'll be 47 this year. So we've been together for a long time. We
Right.
have very happy, very solid marriage. And we had two healthy, beautiful children. So like anybody looking in would be like, what
What's
do you have
wrong?
to be? Yeah,
Right. What
what's
could
wrong with you? What do
possibly be
you
wrong?
exactly? What do you
Right.
have to be depressed about? Well, all of my stuff came from childhood
Okay.
that I never dealt with. And I just shoved and shoved and shoved. And eventually it's going to erupt. For me, that was my late 30s. Everything just erupted.
Mm.
But having the awareness that you have something going on or you feel a certain way. And I also just want to say, like, don't compare yourself to others and say, it's not that bad because so and so has it worse. Or even like to compare it to this crazy world we're living in right now.
Right.
Like, all that outside stuff doesn't matter
Right.
because everybody's dealing with crazy outside
Right.
stuff.
Right.
You have to look within and you have to have the awareness within yourself that something's not right. You don't feel balanced. You don't feel happy with yourself. Your life might be great on paper and everybody looking in,
Mm.
but if you don't feel good in here and happy when you look in that mirror, you
Right.
have to, that's the time to step up and make a change.
Looking good on paper. Mm. Tweet, tweet. Think about that, ladies. Looking good on paper. That is different than what's going on inside of you. She was pretty much putting her hand towards her heart. What's going on inside of you for those listening? Ooh, that was good. Looking good on paper. I'm sorry. I just had to say
Well,
that.
it's so true though. And I think that so just having that awareness of how you feel, right? And that something's not right. You want more and it's not a bad thing to want more in your life.
Yes.
Like even if you have this great, amazing, happy life, but you feel like something's missing. Well, maybe that something that's missing is just simply love for yourself
Right.
and a connection back to yourself because
Mm.
that's what I felt like I lost. Like I loved my family unconditionally. We were happy, but I didn't really like myself
Okay.
anymore. Okay? And like that's, that was part of getting lost. So once you can have that recognition and that feeling that something, is off, then you take that to determine your next steps. And if it is that it's, a mental health thing, then I highly encourage you to talk to your doctor,
Okay.
talk to your faith leader, talk to your spouse, like tell somebody that you need help, right? And go whatever direction that takes you. If you don't feel that it's that avenue, but it's just more of a within and you just want more for your life or you don't feel deserving of the happiness that you have or whatever the case may be for that, then figure out what you want.
Mhm.
What do you want?
Right.
And then take just simple little action steps. You don't have to go like all in
Right.
immediately because it'll just be another thing on your to-do list and you'll be so overwhelmed that you'll be like,
Absolutely.
forget it.
Right.
Give yourself 5 to 10 minutes a day
Mm.
to be with yourself. Decide what you want for your life. Decide what you want for you. One of my favorite things is journaling, but that's not for everybody. So grab your phone and record a voice memo to yourself or,
Right.
whatever kind of works for you, but you have to start spending some time with yourself. So
Mm.
try 5 to 10 minutes a day with yourself. I don't care if you're sitting on your porch drinking a cup of
Right.
coffee, right?
Right.
Take a walk, like read a book, listen to music or a podcast, but just do something for you for that. Everybody has 5 to 10 minutes.
Right.
Come on, Queen. I know
Oh,
you're
I
going to tell me
know.
you're busy and you
I
don't got time
know.
for it. We
I
all can
know.
find 5 to 10 minutes in a day for
I
ourselves.
know. I
It's
know.
just that step of making it a priority.
Absolutely. Yes. She's calling us out, Queens. But yes, we all have 5 to 10 minutes. I think I remember hearing that with Tony Robbins, when he was saying one of the exercises he was talking about doing. And he was like, listen, you have 10 minutes. Everybody has 10 minutes. If you don't have 10 minutes, that's a problem. You know, that in itself is a problem. But
Yeah.
no, we all do, like you said, it's just we're not making it a priority.
Yep.
And especially for women, that's the problem. We're not making ourselves a priority. And so there's kind of no, really not a shock that we're so off. And so
Right.
we're out of, kind of out of alignment, feeling imbalanced,
Yep.
because we're not doing anything to sort of replenish ourselves, right? So that's so important, ladies. Gosh, I mean, my faithful followers per se, of course, they know how I am. But I mean, I really, we have to touch on the importance of taking care of you.
Yeah.
Okay. She said 5 to 10 minutes, ladies. We can do that. We can do that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
She said you could have a coffee on your porch. It doesn't have to be anything big,
Nope.
right?
No, you don't have to go, excuse me, but balls to the wall. Like, you don't have
Right.
to, right? Like, take it slow, make it simple, make it something that you look forward to and enjoy. And a self-care ritual for you. And let me just give you my definition of a ritual, if that's
Sure.
okay. So, a ritual to me is just simply a routine that we do with purpose and intention.
Mm.
Okay, so it can be something like making a morning cup of tea or coffee, or like I said, reading a book. But as you're doing it, just take a moment to set the intention of you're doing this. The intention of me making this tea and sitting down and drinking it with my favorite book is because I deserve 5 to 10 minutes of time to myself. So
Yes.
my intention is some self-love time.
Yeah.
And that's your ritual, my friends. Like, it is literally as simple as that. You are mindful about your actions and they have an intention and purpose behind them.
I love that. I love that. I haven't had it sort of framed in that manner. So I like that.
I like to
Yeah,
explain it because a lot of people, when they hear the word ritual, they think like super woo woo or witchy or
right.
something like that. And, I
Right.
mean, if you want to take it there, like, I'm all for that. Like, my
Right.
office is covered in crystals and sage, and like,
Right.
I'm that girl.
Right.
But it doesn't have to be if that's not
Right.
your thing.
Right.
Just make it about yourself and your intention.
Okay. I love that. I absolutely think, ladies, that's something to absolutely consider. 5 to 10 minutes, even if it's say Monday through Friday, you
Right.
know, I give myself a day. So like Sunday is my self-care day. Period, point blank. I get to do whatever I want,
Mhm.
you know. But I will say, in being transparent, of course, is that I have an issue with finding that routine, or should I say, no, ritual that kind of works for me. So it's great that I have you on here because now I'm starting to think of how I can incorporate that because I've been looking for something very in tune that feels natural.
Yes.
So I don't feel like, oh, I just have to do this because, the gurus say to do
Right.
this, right? I want to find something, as you said, that's intentional, that will be very make sense for me.
Yeah.
So yeah, thank you for that.
Of
That's
course.
incredible.
And
That's
everybody's ritual looks different.
right.
Like, my ritual 5 years ago looks different from today.
Sure.
Right. And you build upon it. So when you find that first thing that you do, and then you begin to look forward to it, then if you want to add something else on, then build upon it.
Mm,
But don't think like, oh my God, I got to do this, and this because so and so said so, and I'm
right.
going to feel amazing.
Right.
Because you're not, because you're just going to feel stressed out. You're going to feel guilty if you miss a day. You
Right.
know what I mean? So we don't need any more of that. So, find one thing that feels good to you that you can commit to yourself a couple days a week, like you said, one day a week, whatever can make you feel better, and then just keep building on it. Add a few more days, or if you
Mm,
feel good about that first thing and how many days you're doing it and you're ready, add something else. Like, I'm up
okay.
to, like, my daily ritual is like a 5-step process.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, like, that's where I'm at, but it's been built upon,
Okay. That makes
and
sense.
it feels good. And now when I don't do it, then I feel out of sorts.
Okay. That makes
So,
sense. Okay. No, that makes sense. I love that. I love that. So I know that we talked about, your journey and things like that. But I kind of still want to go back to the fact that we have people that are, have great relationships or great marriage, as you said, their life. There's no reason for, I guess, a person on the outside looking in to think that something's wrong. And I want to talk about that with you for a second here, because I know there's a lot of women that if they haven't gotten to the point where you have, it might be coming, right? Especially if they listen to this, something might awaken in them. And as you said, it's going to erupt, right? So if they've been suppressing it within themselves, right, they might hear from the queen we have on here, and it's going to surface for them. So it's what do you think is the reason as to why you held on to that for so long? It didn't erupt until later. And again, on the outside looking in, we're thinking you guys are great and wonderful,
Right.
which is kind of, it's pretty, I hate to say status quo, but that's pretty common,
It
right?
is.
So
Yeah.
talk to us a little bit about that from your perspective.
Yeah. So through all of my therapy and healing and all the work that I've done, I can understand it better now
Sure.
looking back. And so I grew up in a household that was very dysfunctional,
Okay.
very chaotic. My parents were alcoholics, drug addicts. I had a stepfather go to prison for drug, like it was this whole crazy, chaotic thing.
Sure.
I adopted this, coping mechanism of people pleasing.
Mm,
Okay. And in doing so, it gave me a sense of power around my environment.
okay.
I mean, it was nonsense. It was all in my head. But
Right.
as a kid,
Sure.
I felt like, okay, well, if I can keep everybody in somewhat a state of happiness, then I will find some peace in my environment.
Mm,
And because I did it for so long, I just carried that into my adulthood.
okay.
And I also tied my sense of worth back to being able to keep everybody around me happy.
Wow.
And because I grew up with a mother that did not provide to me what I felt I needed, when I always said, when I become a mother, like I'm going to be the
Right.
greatest mother ever.
Right.
Right. And so that was like a big thing of mine. So, looking back, I totally overcompensated, you know, and smothered my children to
Oh.
death. But that was my goal and what I wanted. Like, you're getting everything that I always wanted and never got.
Sure.
So I completely overcompensated for my own lack of the mother that I always wanted.
Sure.
So I think that all of those things just kind of, compressed together and made it almost a feeling of impossible to stop
Mm,
doing that.
okay.
And it wasn't until later in life, and everybody has their trigger and their
Sure.
breaking point, right? And I honestly, I do therapy still to this day. Like, I'll probably never stop doing it.
Right.
But we're actually going to start working on, because I have a lot of memory trouble because of,
Sure.
suppressing so much from my childhood. So we're now looking at the angle of like some PTSD
Okay.
that's causing me to, for it to affect my memory.
Mhm.
So I can't really say, like, at this point what exactly triggered it to finally bubble over,
Right.
other than, for me, I would say that it was probably a mixture of my oldest son was, to the point where he was like ready to move out.
Okay.
My daughter was going through, like I said, the cyberbullying and stuff
Sure.
at school. Work was just stressful, right? And um, and finally, it just triggered, and everything came. So you never know what that trigger point's going to be
Sure.
for you. It can be the smallest, most idiotic thing that has nothing to do with anything,
Right.
and it's just going to send you over the edge.
Right.
Really.
Right.
So you have no idea what that breaking point for you is going to
Sure.
be. Um, but all of it just kind of, everything just piled on and on
Sure.
and on for so many years that, yeah, something insignificant triggered
Right.
it.
I know that I understand that. Oh yes. I guess it's if you think like in relationships and everything's fine and a person kept has suppressed things and then it's a
Mhm.
beautiful day outside, the sun is out and the sky is blue and then they just kind of go off the handle and you're like,
Exactly.
where did that come from? You know?
Yeah. Yeah, it seems so out of left field, but in reality it's
It's
not.
not
It's just
exactly.
been building for years, but they are just really good at covering it up.
Exactly. Exactly. So I know there's a lot of sometimes negative, not even a connotation, but sort of maybe a stereotype about therapy.
Mhm.
Um, and you might be surprised. I mean that there are women that are still hesitant,
Oh, for sure.
to do that. So
I think we see it as a sign of weakness.
and I don't understand why.
Yeah.
I mean, what is that about? Because I mean, we all have coaches. Coaches have coaches. I
Yep.
mean, you yourself said you used to go to therapy.
Yep.
I need to find another one. I mean, it's always for me about us sort of progressing, right? I
Mhm.
always say it's never about perfection. It's just about progression. And
Perfection doesn't
it
exist.
doesn't exist exactly.
Yeah.
And
It's
so,
it's a setup. It's an unrealistic expectation that's set up to
absolutely,
make you fail.
exactly. And so personal growth and personal development is ongoing. Like it's not something you
Never
start
ends.
and you stop and it's like, oh, everything's okay. Like,
Yeah, never.
no,
No. Not the way it works.
it's not. So talk to the ladies about, the lady that's listening. She might be on the fence about that, even though we know, you and I know,
Yeah.
certain things are she's suppressed some things, whether or not she has the consciousness to understand that there are some things that she's holding on to or that she's suppressing. So what is sort of your advice to her about kind of maybe nudging her towards being open to therapy?
Yeah. So that's a hard one because, you know, you can only get help when you recognize that you need it.
Mm,
So it's really it's such a catch-22 with therapy because or
right.
any kind of help like that because somebody around you might be able to see that you really need it and really want you to go, but you're never going to do it unless you're ready, or you
Mm,
may agree to do it just to kind of be like, okay, and try to
right.
make somebody happy and get them off your back, but you're never going to actually benefit from it if you just go into it and like half-ass it, right?
Mm,
So
okay.
um so it kind of circles back around to the awareness thing.
Okay.
And I guess really you just have to look at your life and you have to ask yourself, is this what it is? Is this is this how I intend to live the rest of my
Mm,
life? Feeling sad, feeling alone, not feeling like myself, feeling stressed, feeling overwhelmed, knowing that there's something better out there, that there is a way for me to find peace
yeah.
and joy and
Yeah.
true happiness and love. But I'm going to stand in my own way because I'm afraid of what others will think.
Mm,
I feel guilty about taking that time for myself.
yeah.
It's embarrassing to tell people that I'm going to therapy because they're going to judge me.
Mm, 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 mm.
So, all of those things, that's the perception of everybody else.
Right.
The only thing that you have any control over is yourself.
Amen.
What you say, what you do, how you react to things that are said and done to you. You, my friends, have zero control over anybody else around you.
Mm,
Your only job is to tell people how you feel, what you're going through, your emotions, your thoughts. It is not your job of how they react to it.
Ooh,
That is for them to manage and not for you.
ooh. Say that
So,
again. Say it
so
louder for the people in the back.
and the people in the back, did you hear me? So
Oh my
again,
gosh.
it is your job to share your thoughts, your feelings, your emotions. It is not your job to manage how other people react to them.
Tweet, tweet, snap, snap. Ladies, ladies.
So you just truly, honestly have to make the decision for yourself if you want to stay in the space that you're currently in and how you're feeling, or if you're ready to step out of that, ask for help, get the help,
Yeah,
heal, grow,
right.
and live this beautiful life that, honest to God, I am telling you, when you heal yourself, when you learn to love yourself, that shit radiates out to
Absolutely.
everybody around you, and it strengthens every relationship that you have.
Mm,
I
mm.
promise you.
Whew. I felt that. I felt that. Ladies, my queens, yes. You have to put yourself first and love yourself enough to, if you need to get therapy, if you need to talk to someone, love yourself enough to take the first step. Like,
And it's hard when you're in that space where you don't really love yourself. Like,
yeah,
it's hard. And I will
yeah,
tell you that I didn't take that first step for me. I
okay.
took that first step for my family
Mm,
because I was afraid. I was in such a bad mental state where I'm having those suicidal thoughts
sure.
that I was in no space to do that for myself.
Mm,
I did that for my family. I loved them enough
sure.
to get that help. And then in turn, I learned to do it because I love myself enough.
Okay. So then was that something that like you and your husband talked about? Did he see something and it was like, hey, I think you need to
You
talk
know
to
what
someone? Like, how did
is
that happen?
a funny the it's a funny story. It was actually my manager. So I
Wow.
so I work a customer service job, right? So I talk to people all day on the phones, and our calls were recorded. And so randomly, our managers would listen to them and critique them and give you feedback and all of that. So I went into a meeting with him one day and he was like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "I'm fine. What are you talking about?"
Right.
And he's like, "No, I've been listening to your calls and they're definitely off. Like the last few weeks, like it's not you. Like what's going on?" And I insisted that I was fine, that I was okay, and he just kind of pushed and pushed until I was like, "Okay, yeah, I'm not." And he
Wow.
provided me with like resources that were available through my employer for me to get like X amount of
Sure.
counseling sessions, and I took some time off, did some therapy. Like that was actually how it started. And whenever he pointed it out, that's when I said, that's when I had, the conversation with family.
Wow.
But yeah, it was actually my boss that pointed it out.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, okay. That's very interesting. When you see ladies, like she's just like you.
Yeah.
I'm just like you. Like, I swear, we may have different shades and, different nationalities and live in different places, but I
They're
swear
all
we
the
are just
same.
the same.
All the same.
We are
Yep.
the same. Oh my goodness. Her employer brought it to her
Yep.
attention because she didn't, she was in that space of sort of denial, if you
Yeah,
will.
I'm fine.
In denial. I'm
I'm
fine.
fine.
Exactly.
Yep.
I'm which is what we all say. I'm fine. No, you're not fine.
Yeah.
You're not fine, ladies. And that's so important because we can't change what we won't acknowledge, right?
Yep.
We cannot change what we won't acknowledge or deny. I say, or you're delusional about, like, you can't change it, and like your mind can't even come up with solutions, if you're lying to yourself, right?
Mhm.
You're lying to yourself. So please know, like I said, we are just like you. Everybody is going through something, okay? You are not alone. And if you're on the fence about therapy. It doesn't necessarily have to be, say, a psychologist or a
Yeah,
psychiatrist.
yeah,
I would say, maybe they could even start with maybe a life coach.
yeah.
Would you agree?
Yeah, I will definitely say that. I will say that, we were trained in my certification program that like your initial consultation with somebody, you can determine whether or not you have the capacity to help them or if it's going to be beyond your capacity and it's more of a medical thing. So
Okay.
definitely, you can absolutely get a like depending upon where you're at in the space in your space. 100%. I always recommend coaching because it
Okay.
changed my life. But I had originally talked to a life coach, excuse me, but I knew like just for my first talk with her, it was just like an introductory kind of chat, nothing more than that, our first time talking. And I recognized that just talking to her and her responses to me was that it was not the right path for me at the time.
Hmm.
I was beyond that. Like I needed more help than she would have been able to give me.
Sure.
So, I mean, luckily, like she was a friend, we were just chatting, and talking and about it. And so it was an easy decision for me to make, it wasn't like had hired somebody and then was like,
Sure.
no, I can't do this anymore.
Right.
Um, but again, that's kind of going to come back to your awareness thing.
Hmm.
Really talk if you have a trusted, friend or a trusted family member, or maybe through your HR department, you have
Mm.
resources that would be available to you, like I did.
Mm.
Like I said, if you are in the religious space and you have, somebody in that area that you
Sure.
trust, there is somebody out there that you can turn to for help and let them know, like, this is how I'm feeling. And yeah, like I didn't go straight to a psychologist. Like I just found like a licensed therapist.
Okay.
And it felt less, sorry, it felt less intimidating
Sure.
to me for me to just go to like just a therapist,
Right.
right? Like it wasn't a psychologist. So I didn't,
Right.
I didn't tag myself with the stigma of I'm crazy. So I need to go see
Right.
a shrink,
Exactly.
right? So it was just
Exactly.
a therapist and it was somebody to talk to. And that's
Right.
kind of how I went into it, was just, I'm
Okay.
just going in to have a conversation with this person.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
looking at it from that perspective might help make it a little bit easier for you if you're really feeling like you do need some therapy, but
Hmm.
you're still too attached to that stigma and that fear around it. Don't go the route immediately of the psychiatrist. Like just find a licensed therapist and, approach it as though I'm just going to go have a conversation with somebody.
Okay. I like that. I like that, ladies. You don't have to go straight to the psychiatrist, or a psychologist.
Right.
Start small. It's the same thing as she mentioned earlier, kind of taking a smaller step, a licensed therapist. It could be you don't even need that. It might be just a life coach that you need,
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
I know she has coaching. There are other coaches that do at least offer sometimes free discovery
Yep.
calls, and in that you will have the ability to recognize whether or not that's something that's right for you. But the point is that there's resources and there's avenues. There's no reason for my queens to completely be isolated or feeling like they are the only ones going through what they're going through in the world, when I am telling you, we are all going through something.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, I don't know if you know Dr. Joe Vitale,
Yep.
yeah, who I worked with, in the past. He has an actual song, and it goes like, everybody's going through something, even you, even me. And I was like, that's so true.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I did his Hopopono forgiveness
Yeah.
course. So I wrote
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So, tell us a little bit about your book. I like the title, "The
Oh
Big
yeah,
Girl Panties."
love it.
Yes.
Right.
Tell
It's
us a little bit about the
so
book.
fun to come up with that. Yeah, so the book it's the story of my life. I kind of take you on my journey from childhood through today. It's very raw and vulnerable, and I don't hold back.
Mhm.
Full disclosure, I drop quite a few F bombs because that's just me.
I'm okay
And
with it.
okay, So I wrote in the same manner that I speak, and I have a bit of a
Right.
sailor's mouth. I've been trying to behave myself today, but um, so there's a lot of that. It's got my sassiness sprinkled throughout, but it's also it touches on serious stuff. It touches on the stuff I went through in childhood and in my teen years and all the depression stuff, and I talk about my suicidal thoughts, and so there's definitely some triggers in there. So I like to make people aware of that. But the whole point of I've always wanted to tell my story, right? And so when I finally did it, I knew that I was finally in the space that it needed to be more than just about me.
Sure.
Right. So I didn't want it to just be like an autobiography or whatever. I wanted it to have a purpose. And the purpose of it was I share resources, end of every single chapter. If you recognize yourself in anything that I went through in that chapter, at the end of it, there's going to be resources to help you. There's journal prompts,
Mm,
there's worksheets, I have lists of phone numbers of resources for you to reach out and get help depending upon, the space that you're in.
sure.
And then the back of the book is full of resources with aromatherapy stuff and different rituals. And we talk angel numbers. And so I really wanted to there's a stuff in there for forgiveness because that's a huge one. And but yeah, so the end of every single chapter has tons of resources for you. There's a journal and a coloring book that kind of go along with it. But yeah, it's my story, but it's intended to be a guide for you to kind of heal yourself and begin your own journey and learn to put on those big girl panties and just love the shit out of yourself in your life.
Amen. Love the shit out of yourself. Did you hear what she said? Well, okay. Put on your big girl panties. No, absolutely. We do. We deserve the best. I mean, we
We
deserve
do.
the best. Man, we're royalty. Listen.
Yeah,
Life is too short and we're
it is.
too grand to not be being fabulous and operating at a high, vibration and just being the best that we can be. So yes, we all need to put on our big girl panties. I know. I
Yeah.
know.
Hey,
Okay.
you cannot wear a crown if your head is down.
Ooh. Well,
So lift it up,
okay.
ladies. Lift it up.
Well, it's funny because one of the queen affirmations that I have on my website, one of the affirmations is I walk with my head held high.
See, that's because you're wearing that crown, baby.
Yeah, honey, absolutely. I love it. So kind of what's next for you? I know you have the book, you've got your coaching. What's next for Queen Teresa?
Yeah, so I actually have two things. I'm in the midst of getting ready to launch a group coaching
Okay.
program called the Restoration Project. We start in April,
Okay.
and a restoration is just a coming back to yourself. So we cover all the things. I have a bunch of guest experts. It's a holistic approach to getting you back to yourself, loving your life, peeling away all of the layers that are holding you from getting there. And yeah, it's amazing. It's been in the works for about 2 years. I'm kind of taking
Okay.
everything that I have learned and putting it into it. And I'm really excited about that. So
Okay.
doors open for that March 14th, but there is a wait list if anybody's interested, and you get a discount if you're on the wait list.
Okay.
And then I started writing book number two. So
Oh,
yeah.
yay.
So
Okay.
I started that. My husband and I went on vacation to Florida for a couple of weeks, and I got the idea for it while I was there in my happy place and started writing. And so yeah, that's the next thing in the works.
Ooh, okay. All right. Well, as usual, we just have a couple of fun little questions that I'm going to ask.
Of
We
course.
have to break up the monotony a little bit, have a little bit of fun.
Have some fun.
All right. So, Queen Teresa, let us know, what is your favorite food?
Oh God. There's so many. I would say if there was one thing that I would never be able to give up, it would be pizza.
Ah, yes, my pizza lovers. Okay. Yay. Because, yeah, I know that's bad. Gosh.
And my husband makes a homemade pizza that is just to die for. So yeah, I would never be able to give that up.
Okay. Okay. All right. What about well, let's see. Would it be alcohol or would it be wine?
So that's funny because I recently decided I was not drinking wine anymore
Yeah.
because but no matter if I have one glass or three,
Oh my
I seem
gosh.
to wake up with a horrible headache the next day. So I
Oh
had
my
like
gosh.
one glass one night after work, and I woke up with this pounding headache the next day. My husband's like, maybe you shouldn't drink wine anymore. And I'm like, okay. So I'm not drinking wine anymore, but I recently discovered when we were on vacation, coconut rum
Ah,
mixed with pineapple juice and 7 Up. So that's my new go-to.
okay. So that's liquor. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
She went from wine to liquor. Even. Okay, I'll take that. I'll take that. All right. So going back a little old school, back in the day, what was your favorite cartoon character?
That's hard for me to remember because I can just picture all of my kids' cartoon characters. Um, I was a Smurfs girl. I loved the Smurfs.
Ooh,
Yeah.
okay.
I wanted to be Smurfette.
Wanted to be blue.
I wanted to be adored by everybody, I think.
Oh, okay.
She was a queen, so.
Right. I do remember. Oh, yeah, the blue. Okay. Okay. Did you like what is her name? Strawberry shortcake?
Oh,
Do you
yeah, I
remember?
had those too, yeah.
Oh,
I
okay.
honestly don't really remember the cartoon from when
Okay.
I was a kid. I had
Okay.
the dolls, but then it was funny because it kinda came full circle and came back around when my daughter was young,
Mm-hmm.
and so I used to watch the cartoon with her.
Oh, okay. Okay. And I think we had back in the day, excuse me, we had Cabbage Patch dolls too.
Oh, yes.
Did you have
Yep,
that? Okay.
I did. Yep, I had one, my brother had one, and then they came back around when my daughter was young, so she got one as
Oh
well.
my goodness.
Everything
Okay.
comes back.
I know. I know. I know. So what about like roller coasters? Were you going on the roller coasters? All that stuff?
Okay, so yes, I was a huge roller coaster person. Funny story is that my husband and I, we got married at 21. We were very young, we were very broke. We had a new baby, and our honeymoon was an amusement park.
Oh
Um,
wow.
so that's what we did. We went to an amusement park for the day, got a hotel that night, but that we literally just bounced from roller coaster to roller coaster all day long. Now,
That's
the last
fun.
time I went and I was a little bit older, got a little sick on it. So age might be playing a part in that.
Okay, I get that. Okay. So what about the adrenaline? Because I'm an adrenaline junkie. So would you like bungee jump, skydive?
I would say no to those because I have a terrible fear of heights.
Okay.
So
Okay.
yeah, I don't really think that I could ever make myself do that. There would have to be like a money prize involved.
That's funny. But that makes sense. Like it has to be worth it just in
Yes,
case.
exactly.
Okay, cool, cool. And last one, what about a favorite candy?
Mm. Well, right now it is Cadbury mini eggs.
Oh, I
Oh
know.
my God, those little suckers are
They
freaking
are so good.
addicting. So good.
Yeah.
And they're only like this time of year. So we like go to Sam's Club and buy these big bags. And then we're both so guilty of like every time we go through the kitchen, we like are grabbing a handful.
That's funny. Oh my gosh. Wait, so then did you get Girl Scout cookies?
No, no
No.
Girl Scout cookies.
Okay.
No, we don't really have anybody in our neighborhood, and like my daughter's grown and doesn't do that anymore. And
Okay.
all of like my nieces and them are all grown. We don't have anybody in that age bracket anymore. So
Okay. All right. I love the Samoas. So
yes, that's our favorite too.
yeah, yeah, yes. Okay, well, wonderful. Well, I am really, really grateful and thankful to have had you come on today. I mean, a lot of great information that you shared, and I always trust that, the women listening will get what they need, because
Yes.
there's always someone, that needs what we have, right?
Mhm.
And you shared your story so vulnerably, which I absolutely love, and thank you for, and just a reminder that we're all the same. We really are on this journey together,
Yeah.
learning and growing and trying to figure it out,
Yeah, that's all. We try to figure it out as we go. We do the best
Right.
we can with the knowledge that we have.
Trying to figure it out. We've been depressed, and we all have the guilt and the shame and all these different complexes that we all have to work through and grow through. So there's no reason to really ever judge yourself, ladies, and just feel like, again, it's only you. I promise you it's not. Just because you see people's like Instagram reels or the highlights on social
Right.
media, they're just highlights, okay? You do not know what's going on behind closed doors, I
That's just one
assure you.
perspective, my friends.
Exactly. So let the queens know how they can connect with you.
Yeah, absolutely. So like I said, I'm very easy to find. My website is theritualqueen.com, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, everything. I'm just at the Ritual Queen. Facebook, you can connect with me as Theresa Tirk. My group is called Ritual Queens, and you can grab my book on Amazon and Barnes and Noble.
Oh, I love it. I love it. And remember she said 5 to 10 minutes. That's all you need, right? You do not have to jump off the deep end.
Yeah. And if you head to my website, there is a free resource library that actually has some printouts for you to help create your own ritual. And it'll give you some ideas for that 5 to 10 minutes.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Well, thank you, Queen Teresa, the
Thank
ritual queen, Reiki energy healer, certified aromatherapist, all these other wonderful things. Thank you. No, thank you.
one queen to another. Thank you so much for having me. It's been a
Yeah.
blessing.
Well, thank you so much. And, we'll definitely stay connected, of course.
Yes, for sure.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye bye.